So this is what I have so far of the IHS styrofoam drawing. If I recall correctly, I did this section first after having a muffin at 6:30 in the morning. I initially did these lines in midnight blue, but they were barely perceptible against default blue, so I ended up using a black ultrafine Sharpie marker the second time around. Then I did this well. And then I did this side with leaves and I guess closer top-down views of dandelions. And then I did these bushes, but right before I did the bushes, I did this grain field. And by the time I was done with all that, it was about 1 p.m. And I started working on the sunset until Dad got back from painting some of his new house. And then it was around 6 p.m. when Dad took me out to Salvatore's. But I only had water there because I'm going to be donating blood later. The last thing I did before this happened, right before I worked on the sunset, I did some work on the cherry blossom. I'm thinking this was sometime after 2 p.m. After I had for lunch this exact salad, which I believe, if I recall correctly, is called kickin' barbecue. It does taste good, but it comes with quite a bit of packaging. On one hand, it does come with a fork, which is nice and convenient. At Salvatore's, Dad and I split basically an Italian assorted sub. With mayo, ham, capicola, lettuce, onion, and tomato. With Dad getting banana peppers on the side. Yeah, I just find banana peppers to have too much of an overpowering taste. And then we had some fried dough. Yeah, the last thing I did before Dan and I went to Salvatore's was to decide to make the IHS letters look more like clouds. That way it'll fit more with the sunset itself. To create what I've made so far, I did considerable blending with different hues of red, orange, and yellow. I'm liking what I've made thus far, but I know I'm going to have to keep working at it. At some point between noon and the afternoon, I worked on the 99th Dan Hamming episode, essentially doing what I could while the designer Dave voice and the designer Dave voice doesn't work on Rapper Offline. Which is the text-to-speech voice I use for the light-skinned male of the trio. And while Rapper Offline doesn't have the Nazaire voice, doesn't have that text-to-speech voice, which I use for Kyle, the Uber driver. The Eric text-to-speech voice does currently work on Rapper Offline, and Vion Studio has the Gerent text-to-speech voice. So I was able to fill the lines for Dan Hammond and Caesar's dad, whose name is Michael. If I recall, both Michael and Caesar are those weird kind of names where you have to put an A before an E. For some time, I was hung up on continuity, I guess. Since I know at some point Dan Hammond picks up a bowl of mustard off of a sidewalk. And at one point, I even considered making another new 99th Dan Hammond episode occurring right before the events of what I've been working on all this time, on and off. Yeah, but in the end, I've decided it would be best if I made that something that happened suddenly. I.e., the first scene with Dan Hammond is going to have no bowl of mustard, and then next scene with Dan Hammond, there'll suddenly be a bowl of mustard to catch the audience off guard. That sort of thing. Also, I kind of in-universe changed Smirks from being a band to being what he really is, which is someone who makes music on FL Studio and releases it on SoundCloud and YouTube, only I don't mention FL Studio, nor SoundCloud or YouTube. And Dan Hammond burned a CD of his music And I just threw that in to explain the CD. Well, with smirks written on it. With presumably a chisel tip Sharpie marker based on how the text is. And I just did that detail in order to set things up. That's kind of how I want to set the story up. Since in the next scene with Dan Hamming, I use a music track by Smirks. I've listened to their music in the past and will in the future be providing credit for it. Though I'm more familiar with their Go Animate videos. The greatest Go Animate videos of the week. That Row TV tribute video. And Not This Time Deaf. In conclusion of that, I feel I've done all the work I can do without having access to the Nizair and designer Dave text-to-speech voices. And in the meantime, while waiting for Rapper Offline to get those voices back, I'll be working on finishing the IHS Starfoam drawing. And then I'll get to work on my commissions. Some of which involve drawing famous athletes. For some period of time, I felt pretty bad about how much time had passed since the last Dan Hamming episode, but all this time I've been working on the new one on and off, and will continue to do so until it's finished.